Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and with a new decade coming up, we've got plenty of new movies to talk about, so let's count down the top 10 most anticipated movies of 2020. I'm not definitively saying that these are the best movies that are going to come out next year. I'm just saying that these are, for whatever reason, the movies that I care most to see next year. And I might not have even heard of every movie that's coming out next year yet, or there might be some surprise movie that they haven't announced yet that will be coming out that will be amazing. We don't even know yet, or you might have a movie that you care about that I just don't care about. So if you've got a movie that you can't wait to see that doesn't make my list, make sure to leave it in the comments below to let me know and I'll check it out. But that's enough for me. Let's get to this list. Number 10. Saw reboot. So I know what you're probably thinking. At this point, is there anything to be excited about the Saw franchise? And normally I'd agree with you, no, there isn't. But Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock are going to be in this movie. And I don't really know why or what that means for this project, but to say the least, I'm interested. Number 9. The King's Man. The King's Man is of course part of the Kingsman franchise and is now a prequel to the other movies. And it honestly looks like you wouldn't even have to have seen the other two to enjoy this one. The action is always great and the stunt work is always top notch, and although I wasn't a fan of the second one, this one actually looks like it's got a really good script attached to it. Number 8. The Gentleman. So when you see a movie that's being released in January, that's an immediate red flag. What it usually means is that the studio had completed the film but wasn't confident enough in it to release it during the award season, so released it in January after all of that to avoid competition. So if this movie turns out to be a dud, I wouldn't actually be surprised. But the fact that it's Guy Ritchie directing an oddball movie with Matthew McConaughey, I'm interested. This could just end up being one of those movies that critics don't get but audiences love, or it could just be a bad movie. We'll see. Number 7. Venom II. So I was actually a fan of the first Venom movie and enjoyed it a lot. Not because it was actually genuinely good, but because it bounced back and forth between being so bad it's good and actually genuinely good. It was a weird combination. It was way over the top, but it ended up being a lot of fun. But now that the sequel's been allowed to be rated R and they brought in Andy Serkis to direct, I'm really interested. I don't know if it's gonna be another so bad it's good, or if it's gonna be actually genuinely good, or maybe it'll just be bad. My biggest concern with this movie right now is still Woody Harrelson as Carnage. That's just a bad casting choice, but hey, maybe it'll just be so bad it's good. Number 6. The Woman in the Window. On first glance, this looks like just another Rear Window ripoff kind of movie where somebody sees something happen through a window into the next building and then they get in trouble for it. And to be fair, that could be what it ends up being. But to me, it looked like there was more moving parts to it with corrupt cops and all these different things thrown into it, not to mention Amy Adams and Gary Oldman. Not saying that every movie that they're in is automatically great just because they're in it, but that's two really good actors agreeing to the same script for some reason. Not to mention that it's being directed by Joe Wright, who also directed Darkest Hour, which is one of Gary Oldman's best career performances. So this might end up just being another retread on a story we've seen before, but with great actors and a good director. This could be an enjoyable retread, or if we're really lucky, it could be a brand new thing that's equally great. Number 5. Army of the Dead. The biggest problem so far in Zack Snyder's career supposedly is studio interference in his movies. He's able to do only some of the things that he wants to do, and his movies get kind of tainted. This has led to a lot of good movies with great moments in them and vastly superior director's cuts. Well, in 2019 he's moving to Netflix, where he doesn't have to worry about studio interference anymore, so this should be a litmus test to how good Zack Snyder actually really is. And personally, I'm a big fan of his director's cuts, and I believe that he can make a great film. So hopefully this ends up being as good as we all think it can be. Number 4. The French Dispatch. Wes Anderson has consistently put out consistently good content throughout his entire career, and we've been given no reason to expect that whatever movie he does next won't be good. Now, his style isn't for everybody, and if you like him, you like him, and if you don't, you don't, but he's consistently put out quality content this whole time. So it's kind of one of those things where I don't need to know what the movie's about, I just need to know who's making it. And in this case, it's Wes Anderson, so I'm gonna see it. Number 3. 1917. Now this is kind of a controversial pick for 2020 as it was kind of released on Christmas, but not really. It was only released in very select few theaters and is not getting a wide release until January 10th. So it's a 2020 movie. They just did that so they could actually get into Oscars this year. So that means that the studio, for whatever reason, was confident enough that this movie would get an Oscar of some kind, but wasn't confident that it would do well enough among audiences to compete with the other award season movies. I don't know why that is, but to me, everything I've seen about this movie looks really good. And it could just be as simple as that people don't want to watch war movies around Christmas. I don't know, maybe that's it. But from the plot to the acting to the filming style, this movie altogether just looks great to me. me. And so far, all the feedback we've gotten for it has been positive as well. So yeah, I can't wait to see this. I'm mad that I couldn't see it on Christmas. Jerks. Number 2. Last Night in Soho. So what I said about Wes Anderson can also apply to Edgar Wright. I am a huge fan of him and he always makes great movies. He started out his career making comedies and satirizing different genres, and now he's going through the genres making actually good movies. Starting with Baby Driver, he made a really good action movie, and now he's moving into horror thriller. And after seeing his parody of horror in Shaun of the Dead, I am completely confident that he knows exactly how to make a good horror movie. I'd be excited no matter what he was doing, but the fact that he's turning his attention toward horror thriller is really exciting to me because that's a genre that really needs help right now. Luckily, horror as a whole has added Jordan Peele and Robert Eggers as up-and-coming directors to their genre, but we need all the help we can get. And in my mind, Edgar Wright is a perfect candidate for that. If this doesn't end up being a top 5 film next year, I will be shocked. And the number 1 most anticipated movie of 2020 is Tenet. You cannot have Christopher Nolan on a list and not have him number 1. It's just ridiculous to assume that he wouldn't have the best film that year. Considering the ratio of movies he's put out to movies that have been the best movie of the year, I would put money on that. Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception, The Dark Knight, The Prestige. At this point, I expect whatever movie he puts out to be the best movie that year. And man, I'm excited for this year. It could be good. We might actually get some good movies, guys. With Wes Anderson and Edgar Wright both putting out movies as well, but I'd still take Nolan over both of them. So that's my list. I hope you guys liked it. Please like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.